interesting job. Now it's a job that just suits me.
Thank you for tuning in, guys. So today we're going to look at the hose wheel. This is the one from Pure Freedom, the S-Benz type. So as you know, I've made this into an electric wheel. People have asked how I've gone about doing so. Today I'm having to make some adjustments to it, so I thought it's an ideal opportunity to reverse engineer so you can see how I put this together. If we have a quick look in here, you can see the cog, the back plate of the wheel, and the spacing nuts in between. But we'll have a look at that closely when I dismantle and rebuild it back up. Okay, so if you just bear with me, we'll get on with it. So this is what the hose wheel looks like once you've removed the hose pipe. Okay, so the bolts holding it together on the outside there and the inside here. Okay, dismantling the hose reel is relatively easy because you can access these bolts from the outside. The tricky part comes in building it up. So I'm just going to see about dismantling this first. Okay, so when you dismantle your hose reel, you're left with these parts. That has been one unit, second disc where you connect your hose pipe to, two support brackets, your second disc. Okay, so what you need to do then is on this disc, not the one with the water connection, but this one. You then need to align your disc up centrally and drill corresponding holes accordingly, making it as central as possible. Now what you need to be mindful of, I'm just resting it on here, is when you come to connect this up with your chain, these are the bolts connecting your disc to your support brackets underneath. Now obviously when you're fixing your cog up, you need to give them clearance, but you also need to leave enough clearance for your chain, the width of your chain, to run smoothly on your cog. So you need it to be set about there. To do this, what I plan to do is use some nuts built on top of each other just to give clearance, and I'll show you that in a moment. Now you'll also have to bear with me because I'm using one hand for the camera and one hand juggling the pieces. Okay, so the bolts that are going down are the bolts that are used to connect to your disc. Now I like to tinker, I like to be a bit of a DIY, but I don't always get it right. The bolts that I chose to use are these M5 30mm length. Now I did get these quite long, so underneath you can see I've just spaced it out with two nuts. Now it's trial and error on my part. Obviously you can do it with smaller, maybe 20mm length bolts. Okay, so if I can do this, then any complete novice can do this as well. And if you've got a little bit more skill than me, you can obviously tidy that up a whole lot better. But you can see our spaced it with two bolts there. So let me just slide on the cog. Okay. So you can see the two bolts. If I turn it sideways without it falling off. Okay, so you can see that that gives enough clearance for the chain to go on. And I will demonstrate that in just a second. And bear with me with the bad editing. Okay, so you can see that with the chain I've got plenty enough clearance there. You can see that if it's focused properly. Okay, so that's what I've chosen to do. and it's just a case of bolting that up. But you end up with something like this. Okay, yeah, turn the wheel. Just try and keep it all together. Now, in essence, that's the easy part, because what we have to do now is build this back up. I'm trying to film this without showing you the state of my messy kitchen. Okay, now the tricky part is building this back up, like I said, because you cannot build it up like this and put that together like so. The reason being, your bolts here, which connect, see, these parts need to be fastened externally. So when you are putting this together, the bolts, that zooms in better, okay, the bolts holding your cog need to be quite loose, so you can get a screwdriver behind to tighten these in first, and that is where the fiddly bit begins. So to give an idea of what faffy bits you've got to deal with, the bolts that I've chosen is for a size 8 spanner as well. Okay, so you can get that down onto the bolts themselves. Okay, but you've got to align this up to the holes. Another thing as well, I had to trim the red buffers. Okay, these just pop out, and I cut a small section off. Okay, again, if you're more precise, you could work out exactly how much you need to trim. Okay, that's one thing I didn't do. I just kept on cutting until I could put this thing together. So I couldn't actually tell you how much I cut off now, because bear in mind I did this wheel quite some time ago. However, you can replace these buffers from Pure Freedom on their website. So if you do make too much of a mistake, you can rectify it. Okay, but it's a case of getting that on to a line here. While it's dealing with that side. As you can see there, the cog, I've not put the bolts on there yet, so I've got more movement because you need to get to those bolts to screw it in. Okay, and when you're putting that together, that is only the faffy part that you have to deal with. Okay, but it can be time consuming, this part. I found a okay, I can't even tell you the size of this one. Okay, I found this one ideal because it slid in between the teeth of the cog to get the screws in. So I found this particular screwdriver to be ideal. Okay, so with some patience, you can get that on nicely. It is a little bit faffy, like I've mentioned a couple of times. Get your hands in there to hold that, or to tighten these, or to slide the bolts back on afterwards. But once it's done, you'd then be able to connect your chain on there and fit it and install it into your fan. Okay, what I chose to do then is, this is where your handle would go. I chopped mine off because I'm never going to use it again. You may choose to keep your handle on there, but obviously bear in mind that whilst you're using the motor, that could cause some damage going round. So I've chopped mine and I filed off the edges, so it's not particularly pointy or sharp on the end. And there you go, how to convert your Pure Freedom wheel into an electric one. Okay, so like I said, if you're more DIY, focused on what I am, you might be able to do that quicker, but that gives you a general idea. Hope it's been beneficial. Thank you for watching.